What's up, everybody? What is the haps? Brian Edwards, MajorWager.com. Back up in my office, you might be able to tell. And I feel like there is a glare. I have the windows that way. I have the blinds shut, but I see my man Spurrier's right here. I see there's a little glare on him. We got the preacher man, Werfel. We got Ike. We got Batesy. We got Thad Busby getting some gator licks from Ed Chester. We got some natties back here, rings and things. 06. Hell, even let's get my degree in there too. Look at that degree. Look at that gator on top there. But I apologize about the glare. But I just don't have a good setup. Just really don't. My sister told me the vanilla stuff on the videos last week though had to go. So we've moved it back up to the office. All right, we're talking. We talked to FSU last week. Obviously with that coaching job opening, and now we have another Power 5 job open. Our first in the SEC of perhaps several. Talked about Mark Stoops could be in play at FSU. I love my guy Derek Mason, and I stand by my proposed rule that if you have beaten Tennessee 3 times in a row, period, and Mason has done so by double-digit margins, you're not allowed to be fired by Vandy. But he does play Tennessee on the road here in a few weeks, and it's just not looking good for Mace. I hate it, man. But it's not looking good. 2-7 with 3 of the best offensive players in the country. They can't get the ball to Jared Pinkney. Kalijah Lipscomb had the personal issue, didn't play against South Carolina last week. Barely got it. I mean, they just got issues. They do get Riley Neal back this week though. So they're about a 10-point home dog to Kentucky. Mace needs a win there. He needs a win against Tennessee. What is his other game? Sorry. Oh, East Tennessee State. You're damn right if Mace wins out, he keeps his job. You beat Kentucky at home, at Tennessee. You go 5-7. Yeah, Mace, keep your job, buddy. Go 3-0 down the stretch here, man. Okay, so we're going to talk Arkansas. So Chad Morris gets the pink slip. Again, another less than 2 years, but extremely, absolutely justified. He's now been murdered at home by 2 Conference USA teams. North Texas last year, 44-17, if memory serves. 45-19 to Western Kentucky. San Jose State's had a pretty good season, actually, especially for our purposes against the spread, which is all I worry about. Sorry about that. I think San Jose State went 1-11 last year. They won in Fayetteville. I'm trying to go to San Jose State's page here. Un momento. I know it's the last one. This Mountain West. Here we go. There it is. Yeah. San Jose State went 1-11 last year. 2-11 the year before. 3-22. They were 4-23 in their previous 27 games, and they come into Arkansas and win. Talking about like week 3. No, it was week 4. How the hell did Arkansas beat Colorado State when Marvin Kinsey was still on the team? I don't know. Chad Morris did not win many football games, and he gone. Okay, so you can go to Major Wager and see my article. I kind of, chronicled Arkansas. I kind of just went off on a rant yesterday morning, just talking about Arkansas football for those, that aren't familiar or that aren't familiar with their fan base, that aren't familiar with their alumni base, which, we talked about last week, FSU, and its, monetary, financial issues. You don't ever have to worry about that with Arkansas. You got a guy named Jerry Jones that owns the Cowgirls. His grandson actually started quarterback last week. And I think my guy Wes Moore told me there's another, maybe it's a nephew or there's another family member who's going to be like a preferred walk-on next year. So, and Jerry, I'm pretty sure him and Jimmy Johnson were on that 1964 national title team with the Frank Broyles coached. And they were a power. They were back in the Southwest Conference and the Pony Express. Every quarterback was making $200,000 a year. Every Eric Dickerson was making $700,000 a year. I mean, nobody's ever cheated like they did in the Southwest Conference back then. That's when Arkansas was before they came to the SEC 92. But anyhow, point being, Arkansas's got money. In fact, they got as much money as anybody. All right. You got Jerry. You got Sam Walton and the Walton family of Wal-Mart fame. You've got Tyson Foods Inc. Arkansas money is no object. You might remember Jeff Long when he hired Brett Bielema. Not only did I think it was a really, really good hire, it was even a better hire, at least in my mind at that time, on account of the fact that he'd already struck out on like 7 or 8 guys, but he aimed high. And Arkansas will aim high here. And money is no object. Money will never, ever be an object with the Razorbacks. And they will support a winner. But kind of like FSU, I mean, if you've seen those empty seats at Donald W. Reynolds Razorback Stadium, no bueno, man. No bueno. You got to have fannies in the seats. And they haven't been lately. So, look, BetOnline has Mike Norvell, the Memphis coach, as the favorite. Rightfully so. I've talked to a few folks in Arkansas. I've got some connections there through doing a bunch of radio there through the years, more than a decade now on multiple stations. And they also tell me he's the favorite. BetOnline tells us he's the favorite. He was nearly hired before Morris. And I don't mean to be getting anybody's business or nothing, but I was told, and it wasn't the first I'd heard it, and this is not pot call kettle. This is me not throwing stones. I think that Arkansas got a little nervous about hiring Norvell. First off, I think he was 35 or 36 at the time. Pretty sure he's 38 now. And I think kind of like Dana Holgerson, I've heard he, likes to have a cocktail here or there and, maybe even spend some time in casinos. And far be it from me to be critical of that. They sound like talents to me. But whatever. I think those things kind of were maybe had Arkansas a little nervous. But he has continued to build and make even better off what Justin Fuente left him at Memphis. Remember, Memphis was an absolute dumpster fire from the time Tommy West retired, or really the last few years of Tommy West's tenure. And for you young folks, Tommy West was the coach at Clemson before Memphis. So, he was a pretty good, for Memphis standards at that time, pretty good coach. It went south on him late in his tenure. And then they were horrible for a long time until Fuente got there. And Norvell has kept it rolling. And right now, they're certainly in play for a New Year's Six Bowl. So he's the favorite. And so that might, if I had to predict it, I think that's what will end up happening. However, I'm not going to tell you what they're going to do. I'm going to tell you what I would do if I were them. And it's an absolute no-brainer in my mind. I think you have 2 plans before you go to Norvell or potentially Gus Malzahn. Now, Gus obviously coached at Springdale High School for many years. He had Mitch Mustaine, Damian Williams, the 2 5-stars, and Ben Cleveland, the 4-star. I'm talking about a decade ago. So those of you not, fond of or knowledgeable of SEC football history, I might be speaking Chinese to you right now, and I apologize. But the point is, Houston Nutt hired Gus Malzahn. Well, he was winning state championships, or I think he won more than one there. And he had 2 5-stars and a 4-star, and they wanted him to stay with the Razorbacks. So obviously, he hired Gus to get those guys, to ensure that he was going to get those guys. And Mustaine started 8 games that year. He became the starter as a true freshman because Casey Dick, the returning starter, had a back injury early in the season. Mustaine was not lighting it up by any means. And if I'm remembering correctly, he only had like a 10-9 TDI&T ratio. But remember, they had Felix Jones, they had Darren McFadden, they had Peyton Hillis. Those three guys played in the NFL for a long time. Long time. And so they, whatever. Mustaine was 8-0 as a starter, but when Casey Dick got back healthy, he yanked Mustaine. Well, Mustaine's mama and daddy got mad. Mustaine and Damian Williams, the other 5-star, they ended up transferring to USC. You know how many more games Mustaine started the rest of his collegiate career? One. And that was when I had the Power Hours, the Vegas Insider radio show, and I used to dog the mess out of him and defend Houston Nutt. But anyhow, Malzahn and him fell out. Malzahn left for Tulsa. Those two guys transferred. The fan base turned on him, but they still had McFadden coming back the next year. They won that thriller at LSU, one of the best games I've ever watched, the day after Thanksgiving on Friday, late afternoon, and they won in triple overtime. And we talk about, chaos can ensue in November and teams trying to get it. Back then it was BCS championship. Now it's a college football playoff of semifinals of 4 teams. LSU lost to an unranked team. Now, to call Arkansas unranked, they should have been ranked. It would have been ranked in the top 15 of any Vegas rankings back then, but I think they lost 4 games. I think they were 7-4 going into that game. Well, anyway, they win. I remember Darren McFadden. Oh man, he had a great post game interview, and God, I thought he was going to be so good in the pros, and he might have been. He might have been if he hadn't been on those garbage Raider teams with no O-line that got him hurt. But, yeah, Darren McFadden, not Darian, he's probably one of the more disappointing NFL players to me ever. I thought he was Eric Dickerson. And, again, though, it wasn't necessarily all on him. And when the body goes, and when you have injuries, and when you're playing on garbage Oakland Raider teams for 5-6 years, it happens. So, anyhow. Again, it's probably going to be Norvell or Malzahn, but one of my sources in Arkansas told me that if it's Malzahn, they're not chasing Malzahn. And dad blame it. Where's my notebook? Or here, I've got it right here in my column. Let's see what he told me. Shoot. Sorry, this whole video is not going well. I'm not on my A game right now. Where did I write that? Oh, shit. Well, he told me they're not going to chase him and they're not going to something him. Forget what it was. But anyhow, it doesn't matter if Auburn beats Georgia and beats Alabama. He's not going anywhere. But if they lose both, see, everybody in America is rooting for Auburn this week, except for Georgia fans and Arkansas fans that want to hire Malzahn. Everybody having anything to do with Alabama needs Auburn to win. It would be like me having to root for FSU or me having to root for Tennessee against FSU, which I did, and I sang Rocky Top that night. Because I hate FSU more than I hate Tennessee. Tennessee don't beat me enough for me to hate them. Georgia, that's what I used to say about Georgia. They're starting to beat me enough for me to start disliking them. But anywho, so I think that most think it's going to be the Norvell-Malzahn path. And it might be. It's the wrong path. This is what Arkansas should do. My source also told me, or one of my sources told me, that Mike Leach has already reached out. He wants the job. And, well, I can tell you this, but the source said it too. He'll win and he'll score points and be entertaining. Okay? Well, those sound like very good starting points to me, especially for an Arkansas program that had a high water mark of 8 wins under Belima. And since the Bobby Petrino debacle, and by the way, there was no motorcycle crash. I know what happened there. and I think I've said it on one of these videos. The fiance's or the mistress's fiance walked in on the program and he dealt out a country boy beatdown on Petrino. He didn't fall off no damn motorcycle. But since then, 5 losing seasons out of 8 and a high water mark of 8-4 or 8-5, and that was when they blew that 24-0 halftime lead to Virginia Tech. Those sons of guns, one of my biggest bad beats, heartbreakers in a long time. Because I was at this like Christmas party shindig and I couldn't hedge and I couldn't even watch the second half, and I didn't think I needed to watch the second half. Anyway, so God, this is taking me 15 minutes to get to this. All right, Mike Leach, that's who you want, okay? Perennial top 20 program at 2, and I said this in the FSU video. But like, well, yeah, he'd be better at FSU because he'd have better recruits, but this would be more of a home for Leach. He likes to be he can be out in the middle of the Ozarks. He's out in the middle of the West in Pullman, in the middle of West Texas in Lubbock, and in those Power 5 outposts, he has produced perennial top 20 programs because he can. He's that flipping good. So that's what they should do. BetOnline has Mike Leach at 6-1 odds. That's what they should do. Game over. Mike Leach is your new coach. You're going to have amazing press conferences. You're going to throw the ball. You're going to score points. And you will eventually win, if not right away. That's how good Mike Leach is. Plan B. Plan number 2. I don't know if this is even possible. Obviously, in the last 4 or 5 days, we've seen a lot of reports of the 30-year-old Joe Brady. I might have said he was in his late 20s last week. I was mistaken. 30 years old. He's making $400,000 a year for LSU right now. They're in negotiations to bump him up to $1.5 million per year, and he's not even the OC. Yeah, LSU's got a lot of money as well. And I had to like dig to find. I've never seen Joe Brady speak. Okay, I had to dig. I found on YouTube this preseason video of him talking to the LSU media that lasted 8 or 9 minutes, which is certainly not enough to have an accurate gauge or a qualified opinion on how he'll be in front of the press. Obviously, any head coaching job, you have to be in front of the press. An SEC coaching job, you have to regularly be in front of the press, and you have to thrive in that environment. You must excel in that environment. You've got your school's mascot in the background, kind of like me, these rings, you saw Spur Dog. You can't make an embarrassment of that mascot and that logo and that brand in the background. You've got to be good in front of the camera. So obviously, high risk, high reward. He's 30, bagel on the head coaching experience, which is not normally a good path to go down, especially when you can have Mike Leach. That's why I say Leach is number 1, but number 2 for me is Joe Brady. Now, does it hinge on him absolutely crushing an interview? Of course. He has to whatever he does an interview with, like, I don't know, 10, 12, 15 boosters or whatever, 5 high-level administrators, school president, chancellor, whatever, AD, etc. Does he have to leave everybody in that room mesmerized and thinking, wow, that guy's 30. He's our man. Let's offer him an offer that he cannot refuse. I get the sense he even owned that quick little YouTube video that I saw of him. He even conceded, like in the first 30 seconds, that doing the media is not really his thing. So he was kind of like setting the ground, but I thought he did well. I mean, he's getting questions here, questions there, big old bright, warm lights in front of him, and he was fine. Again, small sample size, obviously. But if you watched LSU football for the last decade and change and watched their pedestrian offenses, obviously they would score with all their first-round draft picks, guys, Fournette, etc., when they're playing inferior teams. But you know, when they would get against an Alabama or whatever, I mean, they would just have nothing. Nothing. They hung 46 on Bama last week. This offense is insanely good, and this guy made it that good, just like that. Just like that. This is the hot assistant out there. You're Arkansas, man. You can't just go get anybody, okay? So high risk, high reward. You damn right it is. But if he crushes an interview, if you put him in front of, you know, bright lights and camera and give him a couple test runs before you do the intro presser, obviously, and you like and you're comfortable with him, pull that trigger, man. Have some cojones. Pull that trigger on Joe Brady. Because, look, I think that he's in a point in his career where, if I can make $1.5 million per year, that's good money. And he might in his mind be saying, I'm not ready. I'm not ready for this yet. And maybe that's the case. And there's also the thought process of, if I'm getting paid $1.5 million per, let me wait for that really good job. Why go to a job that might be a potential career killer? Don't do that. Well, if you're Arkansas, the way you make it not be a career killer is you pay him enough money for him and his children, if he has them. I don't even know if he has them. I don't even know if he's married. Him and his cousin, you pay him enough damn money that it doesn't matter if it kills his career. He's got enough money to not survive, but thrive. And that's what you do. That's what you do if you're Arkansas. Go do Mike Leach. If for some reason it falls apart, or if you've got some politically correct folks that, you know, don't want to, whatever, Arkansas is fine with that. You hired Bobby flipping Petrino. You hired Bobby Petrino. That's another example of how much money they got. I can't think of a college ever in my memory or lifetime, what have you, ever just going and just, we're going and we're taking your sitting NFL coach who, was on Monday Night Football last night, and the Falcons were, and Arthur Blank confronted Petrino, that scumbag. He confronted Petrino before the game and said, they've asked me to go up in the booth, whoever, Al Michaels, whoever. And I'm going to go up there and I'm going to talk about the future of the franchise. And I'm getting phone calls all day today that you might go to Arkansas. What's the deal, Bobby? You know, and Bobby goes, I would never do that to you. I would never do that to you. No, that's not happening. He goes and coaches the Monday Night Football game, okay? And the next night, literally on SportsCenter, he's calling the Hogs in Fayetteville. Can y'all remember anybody ever doing that? A college going and taking an NFL coach. The Falcons were having a terrible year. It was when Michael Vick went to prison that, like, August, but, you know, Petrino had taken the job. He was in a bad spot. He took that job to coach Michael Vick, and then all of a sudden he's coaching Joey Flippin' Harrington. My gosh, this has gotten too long. It's 23 minutes. What am I doing? So anyhow, that's how much money Arkansas has. They have enough. They can go take an NFL's coach with plenty of regular season left. And so I don't want to hear politically correct Arkansas folks. And I'm not implying there are a lot of them. But I think I've heard that from Tallahassee folks that, you know, Tallahassee is the capital of Florida, for those that didn't know, not that it's centralized in the state, but a lot of politicians, a lot of politically correct folks that maybe Leach would be too much there. If you win, Arkansas love you. They love Petrino, and everybody knows what a scumbag that guy is. Everybody. So, now, okay, again with the Malzahn thing. He played them 2 years ago, but he beat Georgia and Alabama 2 years ago. If he does not beat Georgia and Alabama, there will be fan unrest, and there will be people not happy. And he might be growing tired of that. And I think I read that, like, the buyout on Gus would be, I want to say it was $17 million if they fire him, but if he decides to leave for another job, it's only like $7 million. And if he wants to do that, get a fresh start. Remember, coached Arkansas State for 1 year, OC at Arkansas. Pretty sure he was born and raised, but regardless, he was coaching high school football there for a long time. So that's home. A fresh restart, a reset. He knows he's on the hot seat year in and year out at Auburn. I think Gus has done a good job this year. But if I'm Arkansas, I'd so much rather have Mike Leach. Wouldn't you? I'd rather have Mike Leach. If you don't get him, feel out the Joe Brady thing. Obviously, if he doesn't crush an interview, if he doesn't mesmerize you with his presence, I mean, all we really know about this guy is that he can call some ball plays up. And he can coach up some LSU receivers and Joe Burrow. And, yeah, it's been pretty impressive what he's done there. And, again, Norvell's right there. And Norvell's a solid hire. And he has roots in Arkansas as well. I also included Elijah Drinkwitz at App State. Nice win at South Carolina last week. He played at Arkansas Central, which I'd never even heard of. And he also coached at Arkansas State for a couple of years. So he's got those connections. Look, I've heard Hugh Freeze and Butch Davis want the job. Butch Davis has wanted this job like 4 different times in the last decade. He's too old. It didn't happen. He was doing a really good job at FIU. They've kind of regressed this year. But Butch is 67, man. That's not happening. Freeze, we don't need to chronicle those issues. Or this video is already way too long. This thing will be 3 hours if we start talking about Hugh Freeze. So anyway, it's probably going to be Norvell. It could be Malzahn, depending on how this thing shakes out. But if I'm Arkansas, if I'm Jerry Jones, I am telling the AD, Mike Leach won. If that falls through somehow, let's feel out Joe Brady. If that doesn't seem like it's going to work out, if it looks like he's too inexperienced, if he doesn't want to take that step yet, Norvell is our fallback, but maybe let's tune in and see how this thing shakes out with Auburn and Gus, because we'll have all the answers to that by November 30th. And by the way, Norvell and Memphis are probably going to be playing that first Saturday in December, which is like the 6th or 7th, in the AAC championship game. I don't know that that's positively clinched, but so the timing works there. They'll have the verdict on if Gus is interested before they can actually make the move on Norvell. I mean, obviously they can make the move, I'm sure, in conversations with his agent and whatnot. All right, that took way too long. I'm sorry, but there's your Arkansas coaching search video that took 28 minutes for some reason. I'm Brian Edwards, MajorWager.com.